All right, guys, welcome to the Onelife Podcast today. My guest today is Mandy. Mandy has been a celebrity trainer, specializes in gut health. Her and her husband have built a multi-million-dollar network marketing company team in Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah.
You do a lot of things. You fit into this channel very well. Very excited to have you here. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I definitely do a lot of things, and I'm so excited to dive into some of that with you. But thanks for having me be your guest today.
No, you're welcome. It's funny, like when I get guests like yourself who do so many things, it's like, where do we start? What do we touch on? Is there time to touch on everything? But I want to start with gut health. So I feel like a lot of people don't realize how important gut health is. What is gut health? Why is it so important?
Amazing question. And I love this. And I'll tell you a little backstory as to even why I got involved into gut health. So I'm a WBFF fitness pro. I earned my pro card 11 years ago.
Did you really?
And I placed number 3 in the world when we were at the World Championships. But here's what happened. As a result of those strict diets that I was on for so long, what happened is my body started to create intolerances to foods that I would eat all the time, including chicken and eggs and dairy and gluten, like things that I was having, my body just started rejecting. So I ended up with severe digestive issues, as well as metabolic issues and hormonal imbalances from these crazy diets. So about 10 years ago, doctors were like, oh, well, there's nothing wrong with you. I'm like, look, I have 4-pack and I look like I'm 6 months pregnant. There's something
when
wrong.
You're healthy, you're very self-aware too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Very body aware. Like I knew something was wrong. Like it was inflammation from the inside that I couldn't get rid of. And so doctors couldn't figure it out. So I said, fine. All right, no worries. I'm going to go to holistic nutrition school so that I can learn how do I heal my body, and then how can I help other people do the same.
So you went and studied it?
I did. I had to figure it out.
Whereas most people would just keep pointing the finger, make excuses.
No, I knew.
You literally went and found out. That's amazing.
I had to, because I knew the doctor's like, oh, you're not allergic to anything. I'm like, listen, I'm telling you, like, something's wrong. This is not right. And there were a lot of other, competitors and trainers that we worked with that had similar issues, but they didn't know what was going on with them. So I said, all right, you know what? I'm going to put myself through a very intensive holistic nutrition school. And I did. And I went and I learned so much about the gut and how it is literally your second brain.
Is that the first thing that they really pushed, like when you were studying?
No. Believe it or not, they didn't. We learned 100 different dietary theories. We learned also about not only what's on your plate, but what's in your life, because your primary food is really off of your plate. Does it make sense? Like everything outside of what's on your plate is your primary food. This is your secondary food. So we learned a lot about that.
Exactly.
So like your lifestyle, your career, your relationships, your stress, all of the things that are not what's on your plate is literally our primary food.
That makes a lot of sense.
Because all of these things, like if you're stressed at work or all of that affects how you eat.
If you're not sleeping, I got you.
And then it affects your body, right? Because stress is one of the biggest, biggest issues. It causes inflammation. It causes all that. So in holistic nutrition school, we learned a lot of different things. But when it came to the gut health, that's where I learned about the gut being your second brain. And the whole gut brain axis, and brain fog doesn't come from your brain, it comes from your gut. Like I learned all of that 10 years ago. And it wasn't a really big thing 10 years ago. Now it's really starting to come to the forefront of not only medicine, but science and holistically, right?
Slowly but surely, right?
It is. People are starting to be more aware. But did you know that 90 to 95% of our serotonin is produced right here?
I didn't until we had this conversation a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah.
I know other things, but I didn't know that.
So what's really cool, serotonin and dopamine, those are our happy, feel-good hormones. That is 50% of your dopamine is produced in your gut, but 90 to 95% of your serotonin is produced right here.
So even 50% of your dopamine.
Yeah, is right here in your gut. And 70% of your immune system is right here.
That I did know.
So if this isn't working, the rest of your life, literally the rest of your life and your body is not going to function.
Nobody talks about this stuff, right?
No.
Nobody probably knows this stuff to talk about this stuff. And it's boring because you can't see it, you can't touch it, you don't have abs. It's not the exterior.
Tangible. Right?
Yeah. It's not very fun to talk about.
It's not, but when people realize it, because me coaching people, look, I had to do a lot of work to repair my gut, understand what type of the right bovine collagen I needed to heal the gut lining. Like I went through a lot of stuff to heal my own body, which as a coach, moving forward from there, I was able to help people so much, not only with inflammation, but when someone would come to me, whether it's for weight loss, whether it's inflammation, no matter what, autoimmune disease, the first thing I would do is talk about their gut. How's your gut? What are you eating? How's your poop? I know that sounds like really gross, but I need to know that.
I think it's not. It's so important.
It sounds funny saying like, okay, let's talk about poop, but it tells a lot about someone when we know what's going on here. Because then just from that assessment, we can determine what else is going on in other areas of their life, how they're feeling, how's their motivation, why they're not able to lose weight, why they have so much inflammation. Maybe it's from leaky gut or IBS or something. So I can tell so much by doing that sort of an analysis.
That's interesting. Just touching on the poop conversation. Is it true if you're eating well and you go to the bathroom that it should come out the way it's supposed to and you shouldn't even have to wipe?
Well, yes and no. Okay. Because some people, it all depends on, are you having enough fiber? Are you,
if everything's on point, is that a fair assessment that that's a good sign that you're healthy?
Yes. Usually they say like if it sinks, it's not as healthy as if it floats.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
It's right.
Everyone watching this is going to be checking out their poos.
Yeah, they're going to go, wait, don't text me any pictures, okay? Do not message me pictures.
Because I've seen different videos and they've talked about different, like experts in this stuff, and they've said different, and I know it's a weird subject to talk about, but I think it's very important.
Yeah, it is. But I also go to people about what are you putting in your body, because that's going to determine how this is all functioning. And that's going to determine how much focus and mental clarity they have, how motivated they are to get out of bed. There's so many different areas of our life. And I think a lot of it started to come to the front whenever we had the lockdowns 3 years ago, which I can't believe was 3 years ago.
It's gone quick.
But I think people then started to really wake up to the fact that they need to take better care of their health. And my husband and I's business quadrupled the first year of the lockdowns, because people were like, okay, I need to be healthier. I need to be healthier. What do I need to do? And we're super honored that we were able to help launch something globally in 54 countries that we could literally help people sitting at home from our phone and our fingertips, and we could help people. And to me, that was something that really meant a lot to me, because as a trainer, both of us, that's how we met in the gym, personal training,
nice.
9+ years ago. But we knew that we wanted to help people. Just trading our time for dollars was not going to be the way to get us to massive impact. And we knew that we had that big vision. And so about 3.5 years ago is when we started doing this whole nutrition and being able to leverage our time and using apps and being able to build a global business.
Talk to me about leveraging your time and trading time for money. Where did you learn that? And how did you, I feel like most people don't realize that.
No. So 95% of the world does what's called linear income. Linear incomes, clock in, you get paid, you clock out, you stop getting paid, or you're on a salary, and most people, and I can talk about this because it's not good, bad, right, or wrong. It just is what is,
it's
right?
Just, and that could be a doctor making $300 an hour. There's only so much time in a week.
Exactly. There's only so much time that you have. And so there you're limited in linear income, you're limited to what matters the most, which is our time. We can't buy back time. A lot of times in linear income, if you want more income, you got to give up free time and work more hours. Yeah. Or if you want more free time, you got to give up some income and some hours. So there's kind of that trade-off there. And about a little over 4 years ago, we met some mentors. I was just talking to you about them. Eric and Marina Worry, who are absolutely phenomenal human beings. They're our only
top of the top.
Yeah. They're some of our closest friends now, but they're
I've been
also
to his house. I've worked with him.
Amazing.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, he's awesome and she's incredible. But they said, look, you guys need to and we were their trainers first, right? So we didn't know anything about this other profession, this other world. We were just training them and being their health coaches and flying with them on their private jets.
Wait, really?
Yeah, to events and making sure that they worked out, making sure they had their meals taken care of. It was really cool.
I was a trainer for years too, and people who can afford training generally have got their shit together. And I learned so much about stocks and shares and real estate just by training clients.
Yeah.
Because they talk about what they're passionate about. And you're probably like, the value you got was probably priceless.
You cannot.
And you're getting paid to train them.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're probably getting paid well to train those people.
Yeah, we're very fortunate.
Yeah.
We very
so it's
fortunate.
more than just money. It's who you hang out with.
Yeah, you are a sum of the 5 people that you hang out with. And look, if I'm surrounding myself with multi-millionaires, successful people, I know I'm going to be the 6th.
Yeah, what's that saying? Hang out with millionaires, you'll be the next.
Yeah, you'll be the next, for sure. And we're so honored that we got to do that. But what Mr. Eric Worre and Miss Marina, which I say Mr. and Ms. is because I have the utmost respect for them. But they're some of our dearest friends. But they said, look, you guys need to find someone who has what you want and do what they do, because success leaves clues. Success leaves clues. You go and find someone who's living the life that you envision, find out what they're doing. Ask him, hey, how did you do that?
It's literally a blueprint, right?
Absolutely.
And most successful people are more than happy to share the story. Have you found that?
I have, actually. They really want to tell you.
It's the broke people, it's the unhappy people who hold on to the chest. The ones who've been through hell and back and they've continued to keep going, they're more than happy. Like if I ask you a question, I'm sure you're more than happy to help me.
100%.
Because you've been through the ups and downs and you realize how hard it is and how many books you had to read and how many failures you've had.
The failures are so important. And Eric is the one that told us about leverage income. We were like, huh? Like literally my husband and I kind of looked at each other. We're like, huh? Like we didn't understand even the word leverage income. We knew the word over leveraged because that's what we were. We were both working 2 jobs, burnout, broke, and frustrated personal trainers. So we're like, what are you talking about leverage income? And so this is where you're leveraging systems instead of hours.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand that 4 or 5 years ago, had no idea. But once I started to understand it, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. It doesn't depend on how many hours I work in a day. No, it doesn't. And so we were very fortunate to learn that and create a lot of success, not just for us, but for other people.
Yeah. So you want to read business books, things like that?
A little bit, but more
more on the fitness side of things.
Yeah, for sure.
That was a game changer for me, was just self-education, constantly reading books. I still do now. And then having this podcast has definitely added to that too. But yeah, realizing like I make $300 to $600 an hour, but there's only so many hours in the week.
Yeah. There's only so much that you can do. And I read some books, but I mostly talk to people, which is I love that you're doing this, because I wanted to ask people, what were your biggest challenges, right? Like what were those failures? What were the biggest lessons that you learned that you took with you to create the success that you have today?
So I don't have to make the same mistake.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I wanted to learn, and a lot of times, and my husband's the same way. He and I both learn a lot through other people's experiences.
Yeah. Which you really should.
Yeah. I mean, like I use this analogy and it's kind of funny. So think about if I put a bike right here and you've never ridden one before, and I hand you a book and I say, Brendan, here, read this book on what it feels like to ride a bike. Are you gonna know what it feels like to have the wind blowing through your hair, the freedom, the speeding by, or you have to get on the bike and actually try it? Right?
I always say this with training. You can understand exercise science, but never lifted a weight in your life. Or you could only have lifted weight and not know the theory side of it. I think it's very important to know both.
Yes, it is. Because you can read the book on how to ride the bike, but the only way that you'll know how it feels is actually get on and experience.
Or even to actually ride the bike, yeah.
You fall down, you get up, you're like, okay, that didn't work. What do I need to do different?
100%.
And so I feel like when I talk to people and have those conversations about what were your failures? What did you learn? What have been the biggest challenges? How do you feel now? Like, what are you passionate about? Like, I like to learn and absorb from people's experiences, because that's just how my husband and I seem to.
I must be the same, because that's why I have a podcast.
Yeah.
Literally why I have a podcast.
Yeah.
Because I read about 60 books a year, but now I literally get to ask people the questions that I want to ask.
Yeah, that's right.
It's amazing, because a book will tell you what it wants you to know. But if you write a book, I learn what you told me, but now I guess to actually ask you the questions specifically to what I want to know, which helps deliver that value to other people at the same time.
Exactly.
But it's definitely more for selfish reasons.
Yeah, and I love that. Like, my husband and I have been talking about starting our own podcast too, because I want to interview 7-figure, multi-7, 8-figure, 9-figure earners on.
Because you know you're going to be the next one.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I know I'm going to be the next one, and I want to learn. I want other people to hear their failures, their challenges, because a lot of people think, oh, I can never get there, or I could never do what they do.
Yeah, that's the disconnection, right? The permission. That's another one. Like, reading gives you permission to realize, like Rich Dad Poor Dad's first book I ever read, flipped my whole perception on its head. Go to school, get good grades, get a good job, work 40 hours a week for 40 years and then retire.
Exactly.
And then I realized, hey, I can do whatever I want, make as much as I want. I just need to figure it out for myself. And that just gave me, and the more I read, the more permission, the more. And then something's gone wrong. I think of Richard Branson starting Virgin Airlines.
Yeah.
And British Airlines trying to put him under for 10 years. They spent millions of dollars. They paid staff to cancel his flights. They sabotaged his company for 10 years. Yeah. And here I am, like, worried about someone didn't show up for something, or it's the perspective, the lessons. There's so many things that come from it. Yeah. And the stories that have come from this chair, I'm like, I got nothing to complain about. I cannot say that enough.
I love it. But and I feel like we all go through things. We go through things for a reason. They're all a necessary part of our journey. But how can I use that to help someone else? You know, because I was also a single mom for about 3 years. It was hard. Like,
how many kids you got?
I have 2. I have a 19-year-old daughter who is in Spain, in Madrid, going to university on scholarship.
Cool. How cool is that?
Yeah, super cool. And then I have my son is going to be 15 tomorrow.
Okay.
And he's getting ready to go to high school and he plays basketball. But for me, when they were younger and I, got out of the marriage that I was not happy in, I knew that I was being led to something more. I knew it. But I had to go through that painful time. I had to go through the time where I was struggling as a personal trainer, restarting my entire personal training business. And there were days, and I'm being very honest and transparent, there were days that I had to, and I try not to cry, to pick change out of the cup holder of my car and decide, am I going to give this to my kids for school, for lunch, or put gas in my car to get to work to train my clients? And it got to a point, being a single mom, that I had those real struggles, and I some days it was like, okay, one more client, one more hour, one more, just to get through, and that survival mode. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't. But in all of that, I learned so much about myself. I learned what I was really made of. And interesting enough, that was also the same time frame that I went, and it was after I won my pro card, but when I went to compete as a professional and placed 3rd in the world, I really discovered what I'm really made of here, like in my mind and physically. Which
your mind is everything too, right?
It is. And I didn't know that before.
I think, because I've been in similar circumstances. That's hard. And I think when you look back, it's the best thing that ever happened to you, because it makes you appreciate everything you got now.
Absolutely.
And then, like, I live in a small unit. I drive a secondhand car, paid in cash. It keeps me in check too.
Sure.
Because, like, but I'm also reading, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm talking to the right people, I'm on the right track. Mentally, I'm there. Financially, I'm not where I want to be, but I am 100% on the right track.
Yeah, you're on your way.
So it's like, it's understanding that, because you mentioned survival. Most people aren't living, they're surviving. 8 out of 10 of us live paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
So that's doctors, that's lawyers, that's not just people working at Starbucks or checkout. That's everybody, because we buy stuff we can't afford to impress people we don't care about. And we get stuck. And when you're stuck and you're being there, it's the worst feeling ever.
Yeah.
And you're trading time for money, and if you get sick, the acronym for job, just over broke, as I'm sure you already know.
Yep.
It's very scary.
It's scary, and it's really scary, like, now out of the the lockdowns, now we go into a recession, and if I go and see, like, eggs are $2 a piece, you know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous. I honestly don't know how, and I don't want to say the average by any means. It's not average. I don't know how anyone can really afford that. right now in this time. And, for me and my husband, what we do is we're able to now help people financially, not just help people with their health, their gut health, their overall pain and inflammation in their body. We're now able to show people how to do what we do to make that extra $500 to $5,000 a month to help them financially. So for us, it's so much of a giving back and showing others, hey, here's the system that we use. Here's what works, and leaving that blueprint and giving that and passing it on to other people is so important, because people right now, they can't afford to buy the groceries and pay their bills. And that is a heartbreaker for me, because I know what I can do, and I've helped tens of thousands of people with their health. But now financially, I feel like I'm on such a mission to not only help people with their stress and the mental wellness piece of this and this, but to help people financially, because people need it right now more than ever. Really, they do. Like I see people, like you said, even doctors living paycheck to paycheck.
100%. Everybody thinks it's a low income, but it's not. Everybody just buys stuff they can't afford. They're living above their means. Yeah. And as we both know, that doesn't get you very far.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And then, unfortunately,
it gets you stuck.
It gets you stuck in that same rat race.
Rat race.
Well, I'm sure. Have you played Cash Flow?
I have not. I've never played it. I've never had the access to it.
Yeah, we'll have to play. Like it's something, you talked about Rich Dad, Poor Dad. There's the cash flow quadrants, there's the book, and then there's the game. Because in the game, what's really cool, and yes, I know I'm talking about Robert Kiyosaki because I love this game.
I mean, I've been a huge fan.
I started playing this game probably 20 years ago.
Oh, did you? See, I've never played it, but I read the book 20 years ago.
Yeah. When you play the game, it's kind of like a real life Monopoly, because you're stuck in the rat race, right? And all of these expenses are so high. So you each have a profession, and you've got liabilities, you've got assets, you've got expenses that you can't get rid of, like kids. But so it's like a real life Monopoly game. But when you're in the rat race playing, you can't get out until you learn how to have your passive income exceed your expenses. And that's, you go and you play the game, and you're like, have these ahas that like you want to slap yourself in the face. But then now you take those lessons and you go apply them in your real life. And you play that game in your real life, because the goal is to get out of the rat race and get into the playing big, right? Get into the big one.
So I was having a conversation with a friend the other day. He's got a beautiful car. He lives in a beautiful unit. I was like, I don't want to be driving this cheaper car, but I'm like, how much is your car payment? He's like, $500 a month. How much is insurance? He's like, $300. I'm like, that's $800 a month on a car. For what reason? This car, guess how much it cost me a month? $0.
Yeah.
That's the difference. And then we're talking about rent, and his rent was 3 times higher than mine. Do you need that extra space? Do you need to live where you're living? So now if you look at the rent, you look at the car payment, I'm like, I'm $25,000 in front of you without even making any money. It's crazy, right? And that's what everybody does.
Yeah, their expenses are so high, and then they're constantly trying to keep up just with the expenses every single month.
Yeah, and it's keeping up with the Joneses, right? And like the people I know who got the brand new iPhones, and they're the brokest.
Yeah.
The ones who look rich are the brokest. And you've probably seen that, right? It's the ones who've got the nice clothes, the nice car, the nice shoes are generally the ones who've got the most richest people have come here. And I've seen the cars they drive. They drive the cheapest car.
Yeah, I have a Ford Mustang, electric, by the way, but
nice.
I love it. Like I wanted to, with the gas prices 2 years ago, starting to skyrocket, we traded in our Range Rover, and we said, you know what, we don't need this. And between the car payment and the gas, it was almost $2,000 a month that we were spending. And
it's humbling to be able to do that, right? It's hard because, what are my friends going to think? I literally had one guy rock up, and he was bragging about his old truck, which had 300,000 miles on it. But guess what? He probably made the most money out of most people who sat in this chair. So I'm like, who are you going to listen to?
Exactly. It's not about the car you drive. That's one of the things that the cash flow quadrants and the game actually taught is it's okay to be cash poor if you have your money in investments and your money is making you passive income.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's where the difference is. And so my husband and I have been fortunate to be able to get in some big investment deals and stuff like that, because we've learned what we've learned over the last few years. So anything that I can, pay forward and help other people with, I'm glad to, because 5 years ago, we were not in this situation.
Yeah. And it relates back to the training. You wouldn't go to a fat personal trainer, right? You want to go to a broke financial planner. Yeah. So for me, people who lead by example, I mean, you're around Eric. He leads by example. You're going to listen 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason with that guy, right?
Yeah.
Because he's doing it. He's not talking the talk. He's walking the walk.
Yeah. And listen, there's been many times that I've walked in and he'll say, give me this advice, and be like, okay. And one of them was like, you need to have thicker skin. I was like, okay, because I wear my heart on my sleeve. But he's like, look, you're in this profession. You need to have a thicker skin. You need to get rhino thick skin. And so I'm like, all right, if you say so. So I went and I practiced it, right? And then he says, okay, you need to do this. I went out and I practiced it. Why? Because I'm going to take advice from him and the results that he has. And that's the whole thing, is finding someone with the results that you want.
Going back to what you said originally, right?
And do what they do, or do what they tell you to do. And so
don't make excuses. Don't blame the finger.
Oh,
don't point the finger.
No victim attitude.
Yeah, don't be the victim, right?
No.
The victim doesn't get you anywhere.
It doesn't. And that's what I was saying a few minutes ago. Everything happens for us. So everything in our life, every trial, every failure, every blessing, no matter what it is, it's happening for us. So even as hard as it is sometimes, finding the silver lining or finding the gift in a bad situation or a failure or a challenge, because that is the golden nugget of that, right?
That mind shift is the hardest thing to do, right?
For most people, yeah.
And it's not something you can just turn on overnight. It's something you grow and you learn and you slowly start to pivot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally get it. Someone breaks into your car, steals your wallet. You tell the next 50 people about it, like, hey, maybe I shouldn't have left my wallet on the seat.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that.
Simple as that, right?
Training clients. I was driving back from Los Angeles, training my clients there, came back to Vegas. I was running a few minutes late, so I left my backpack, my purse, my laptop right there in my front seat, ran into the gym here in Vegas, and my car was broken into. They stole my purse, my laptop, literally everything that I owned. And in that moment, I was devastated, right? Because I was a single mom. I didn't have anything. And it's funny that you say that, but I had to look at it, go, okay, what could I have done different? Not leave that in, right? I could have left LA early. I could have looking at the things that I take responsibility for that led to that situation. And then what can I take from it from next time?
And that's hard to do for most people. I was having a conversation the other day about it, talking about if you're late for something and people are like, oh, sorry, there's traffic. That's not an excuse. If you're late, you're late. I don't care if there's a car accident, there's traffic, you don't be late. If you're not early, you're late.
Yeah.
And you know Johnny Richardson?
No, I don't think I do.
A friend of mine is a pretty big realtor here in town. But he was saying people who are late are forgotten about. He had some saying, I'm going to butcher it, but he's like, people who are early who are remembered, people who are on time, people who are late are forgotten. Yeah, and I was like, I like that. It's a better way. Because I'm always like, if you're not early, you're late. I'm early for every single thing I've ever done in my entire life. I love that. Even if I want to be late, I can't be late. It's just instilled in me to be punctual. And I feel like there's only a couple things you need to have to really stand out these days. That's punctuality, integrity, and treat people the way you want to be treated.
Yeah.
I feel like if you can do those three things on a consistent basis, you're already in that top 1%.
I love those three. They're
quite simple though, right?
Yeah.
Because treat people the way you want to be treated. I hate waiting on people.
Yeah.
Because I never make people wait on me. I stay true to my word. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it because I expect the same in return.
Yeah.
It's very powerful, but it's also very simple.
Yeah, it is. It's like the 4 agreements. So, yeah. But I love that. And integrity is a really big one.
Huge.
I
feel like that's number 1.
Yeah, agree. Because if we're not in integrity with ourselves.
That's another thing, right? Holding accountability to yourself.
If you're not in integrity with yourself, though your life is going to be a reflection of you being not in integrity, and then you're going to end up attracting more of things that are not in integrity because you're not in integrity. And it all goes into let's focus on us first. Let's get in alignment. Let's be in integrity with ourselves. No victim attitude. Take responsibility for my actions, my mindset, my thoughts, my words, everything. Taking ultimate responsibility, radical responsibility, because then we're able to get in alignment with ourselves. Then that's when you create the opportunities and the people and the doors and the mentors and all of those things.
Because you're deserving of it at that point, right?
Because everything is in alignment.
I mean, you could talk dating, you could talk finding the perfect husband, you could talk friends, environment, business opportunities. If you're not that person, why are things going to be attracted to you?
Yeah.
You need, as a whole, you need to be that inside.
100%. And I really think this is a really big one is we don't attract what we want. We attract that of which we are. So, and again, I've dated the losers, right? But I had to look at it as, how am I attracting that? Not what's wrong with them. How am I attracting people like that?
Which is hard to do, right?
It's not easy.
Then you got to reflect on yourself.
It is internal. But for me, it's what my external world is a reflection of my internal. What goes on in here and what goes on here.
I like that.
Right? It's all a reflection of my internal.
I like that a lot.
And my husband and I have had to unfriend people and literally unfriend people from our life, not from social media, but unfriend them
even
from our life.
Even social media though.
Yeah. Yeah, because if there's people in my circle that are out of integrity, that are liars, any of that stuff, that would be a reflection of me, and I don't want that in my life.
Yeah, the way I look at it, it's like those that don't increase you will eventually decrease you.
Yeah.
Somebody who's not adding value to your life is taking value from your life.
Yeah.
And that could be somebody complaining on social media and you seeing them on a daily basis. All of a sudden, they're not a friend anymore. Someone who lets you down, someone who's making, it's setting those boundaries. It's understanding your 5 closest friends, your biggest influence. Your 5 closest friends are income divided by 5. That's your income. I mean, you get it. There's a million different ways of saying it. Yeah,
it's so true. And, if I can even offer that to anybody, like bad things happen to good people. I get that. But what can you take from it? What nugget, what gift, what silver lining from that situation can you take and use it in your next situation?
You read Man's Search for Meaning?
I haven't. My husband has.
You should read it because it talks about not what happens to you, but the way you react and what happens to you.
Yeah, it's
and
your
that's
reaction.
Kind of touching on what we're talking about. But that's like concentration camp extreme. But it's a very powerful book. There's a million things I want to talk to you about. I want to get back to the gut health for a minute. Yeah. So you talk about the serotonin, 95% coming from your gut. So we got serotonin, we got the dopamine, we got the immune system, and we've even got metabolism, right?
Yeah,
all from gut health.
And hormones.
And can we touch on those?
Absolutely. So serotonin is your happy hormone. Dopamine is your feel-good hormone.
Okay.
90 to 95% of your serotonin is produced in your gut. But what happens here, and I've seen it even more so in the last 3 years, people will be like, oh, I'm depressed. Oh, I have stress. Oh, I have anxiety, which listen, we all have stress, right? Like there's no one that is, absent from stress.
Yeah.
But what happens is they'll go see a doctor about it, and a doctor will just write the script. And I believe there's a time and place for medicine.
100%.
Not for something like this, because even for my example, I'll give you an example. Like we took my son to Universal Studios like 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Obviously, there's not very healthy choices in a theme park.
No, at all.
So obviously I had donuts, I had fried, and I will tell you the next day, and I'm very in touch with my mind and my body. I had so much brain fog. Like I couldn't think straight. Does that make sense? Like I couldn't
100%.
think straight because my gut, all of the crap that I put in my gut was affecting my brain the next day.
Is it true like 60, 70% of your energy goes into digesting food? Do you know the stats on that?
So I don't know the exact percentage of your energy, but if you are eating something like, listen, I do it. I believe in moderation, but I also know how my body feels the next day. It took me like 2 days, even with having the right supplements to support my serotonin and dopamine and my digestion, it still took me 2 days in order to get my brain back. Okay, I'm back. Like Mandy's back. And I realized like when I'm working with people and helping them, the first thing I do is I want to talk about what's going on their plate in their life, because I know that that's affecting this, which in turn affects this. And when we don't have that gut functioning, I mean, you have, I don't even know how many trillions of, different bacteria in your gut, as well as you have 500 million neurotransmitters that
Oh, wow. From brain
500
to
million
really?
that talk from your gut to your brain.
Wow.
So when your gut's not functioning, all of those neurotransmitters through your vagus nerve is not talking to each other.
Interesting.
That's when people start feeling like, okay, I feel depressed. I feel anxious. All of that has to do with the overall
And that
gut.
could, simple things just lacking motivation, right?
Motivation's a big one, because when you're not motivated, that means that something's not functioning properly.
And if you're not motivated, you're not training. If you're not training, you're not eating right. And it's like this vicious
Cycle. And that's why we just launched a new partnership with a mental wellness company. Why? Because mental wellness comes from your gut. And I love everything that they're
mental
doing.
wellness comes from your gut.
It does.
They're not words you hear very often.
No, it's not. And we're so thrilled that there's some scientists and some doctors that really get this on a scientific, level. And so with the mental wellness part, when we can heal the gut, with the right types of probiotics, prebiotics, it's almost like biohacking. What I mean by that is there's certain strains. Now there's trillions of different strains of bacteria, but there's certain strains of probiotics, prebiotics, postbiotics, and phytobiotics that do certain things. So imagine there's scientists and doctors that are trying to figure out which strains do which things in our body, put them together to create a certain
little cocktail.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we actually have something called Happy Juice. That is, it's different strains of probiotics, prebiotics, also nootropics, which is your for mental focus and clarity.
Yep.
But putting that in a powder that you mix with water, and when you drink it, literally people feel happier. I know that might sound crazy.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
But it helps the body start producing
and
that
you're doing
serotonin.
it at the core level. It's not a mask. It's not a stimulant. It is treating it at the core.
Yep.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on fasting? For like a break in your digestive system.
I get it. Like there's pros and cons. So I also used to do intermittent fasting. But now that I'm literally going to be 48 next month.
You're 48.
I'll be 48
Are you
next
really?
month.
Oh my
Yes.
God, you look amazing.
Well, thank you.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Wow. And I always talk about, like I'm 43, and I always talk about this. If you take care of yourself and you keep your health is your wealth. You stay younger, you feel younger, you still look damn amazing for your age. And it doesn't make any difference. I think a lot of people are 25, 30, I'm not young anymore. I give up. I'm like,
what are you talking about? Like you
it's
have
like-
no idea until you get in your 40s.
it doesn't make, I can still do everything I did 20 years ago, 25 years ago. I'm sure you're on the same page, right?
I can. I feel honestly like I feel healthier now than when I was competing in 9% body fat. And I do. I honestly feel healthier now. I am healthier now than I ever have been in my life.
Yeah, that's amazing, right? That's amazing. Yeah, I'm so glad I'm so glad you said that.
Well, thank you. The only reason I'm saying it is because going back to like the intermittent fasting, when I was younger, I did intermittent fasting. There's benefits, but then there's also cons to it. Now that I'm older, and the reason I say this, as we age as men and women, there are some benefits. However, as we age, things don't work the way that they did 20 years ago or 15 years ago or even 10 years ago. So we have to adapt. So where I'm so much more, and my husband is too, about eating to balance your blood sugar. Because as we get older, we need more protein. We need, right? And the first thing is stress. When you do intermittent fasting, it does put a little bit of stress on your body. Now your
hormesis,
cortisol levels
yeah.
start going higher because it's like, okay, you're not feeding me. I need food. And guess what happens? Your cortisol is going to produce fat and store it when you're not eating. And it's also going to chop away at some muscle in order to fuel itself throughout the day until you feed it. And then your body's like, all right, I don't know when you're going to feed me again. Let me store all this as fat. So especially, and I speak for women, my husband can speak to you for the men, but especially as a woman, when we do that intermittent fasting at this age, at this stage in our life, it doesn't work the way that it's supposed to.
See, I'm the opposite. I did the 6 meals a day my whole life. Now I fast and I eat once or twice a day. But for me personally, it's makes my life so easy.
And if that works for you.
Yeah, and it's more of a convenience thing than ever, because I hate having to prep my food 6 times a day.
Yeah.
So for me, it works. I can lean up quite easily. Right now, my diet has me as well, but I've been fasting. So, but I mean, it doesn't matter. I was just curious on your thoughts on it.
Yeah, and it really matters what works. By the way, I don't meal prep. We teach people how to live with food freedom. We teach people how to go in your fridge, find your protein, find your fat, and find your carb on the same plate. We teach people how to eat at a restaurant. Look at the menu. Okay, pick your protein first. Okay, if it's a ribeye, obviously that's going to count as your protein and your fat.
Gotcha.
And have your vegetable and you're done. You know, so we teach people how to live with that food freedom, because I smashed my scale, because I did that way too many years. I smashed my scale probably about 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah,
I'm like,
painful.
not doing that again. Like, I used to bring my scale to restaurants.
Yeah, but I mean, you kind of had to when you're competing, right? At that level.
I had to, but then I got it in my mindset, and then I was afraid of carbs, and carbs are bad. And, you know, I went through all of those phases, but I feel like I had to learn those things, not only for myself, but to help other people.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Yeah, that's why I'm very open about the fasting too. Like, I've done the 6 meals, I've been down to like this % body fat, I've been on stage, I've done this, but as you get older, you have kids, your priorities change.
Yeah.
It's not practical.
It's not.
But you can't give up either. You got to find what works.
Find that balance.
Yeah.
Finding the balance. And, you know, I just know, like, for women, like, our bodies at this age and this stage of the game, we need more protein. Now, is there benefits to allowing your digestion to go and heal? Yeah. But it also, if you're taking the right type of supplements, the right type of collagen that's going to help heal that gut and that digestion, the right type of probiotics, prebiotics, those things are going to support it. Is there benefits? Yes. But is it sustainable? No. And there's always 3 things that I tell people. Number 1, could you do it forever?
Yeah, is it a diet or is it a lifestyle?
Correct. Number 2, would you put your kids on it? Would you tell your kids, I would never tell my kids, oh, you can't eat after 8 o'clock, or oh, you can't eat till noon, or,
I like that.
Would you put your kids on it? And is it based in science? Now, there's a lot that are based in science, but would you put your kids on it and could you do it forever are 2 things that people forget to ask themselves. Like, that's why I don't believe in like diet pills and things that are going to, because I would never put my kids on it.
Yeah, because I always say that, like, we'll do a lot of things to ourselves, but will we do it out to our kids? And this is another thing I always think about. You tell your kids, oh, you can't have soda, but then you'll have soda. You're contradicting what you're saying. It's like, if a kid can't have it, why are you having it?
Yeah.
Have you been there? Like,
I haven't. I've been one. I have to say that's one area I haven't been, but I coach a lot of women that do that. And I'm like, you're setting the example for your child. You can't have a double standard. It's a double standard, isn't it? Yeah. You need to lead by example. If you want your kid to do something, you have to do it first.
Yeah, monkey see, monkey do type thing.
And that's the same thing as like a coach, right? I can't be not walking the talk or, that sort of thing, but expecting my clients to.
Yeah, rocking up to your session at McDonald's.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
No, I can get away with it.
Yeah, I can do it. Not you, but don't do what I do, right?
I like that.
Like, do as I say, don't do as I do. That's not, I believe, like, leading by example. Same thing with like our team. Like, we have a global team. I can't expect my team to do something that I'm not willing to do.
Yeah, 100%.
It's in every area of our life, right? 100%. Like, whether it's on the personal development, whether it's doesn't matter what area, I can't expect anyone to do something that I'm not willing to do myself and I'm not doing as an example to others.
Your celebrity training, where did that come about?
Look, when I won my pro card in 2000, sorry, I had to think about it, May of 2012, That's when I was heavy into personal training. I also went through a divorce. I took a job in California and working at a gym there.
What gym was that?
Equinox.
Equinox, okay.
In West Hollywood. But when I was there, I began to people started to know my brand, know my name, knew I was working in Hollywood, would private train clients. Like
you had the reputation too, right?
Yeah, I did. And that's when I was big into personal training.
Okay.
And we sign NDAs for all of those that we train. So we're not allowed to talk to. I can talk about Eric and Marina. I don't have an NDA with them, and they're some of our closest friends.
We train, like you're talking about, like movie stars. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
Getting people ready for roles and things.
It was fun, but I will honestly say, like, they were probably some of the hardest clients to train.
Why is that?
Not wanting to listen as far as foods. Oh no, I can have that. I'll just take this peptide, or I'll do like they were looking for the quick fix versus the really like putting in the hard work. And so, maybe we'd have a great session and then they just, I'm going to go treat myself to pizza. And not that normal clients don't do that, but it's also just, because I'm a celebrity, I can get away with it. And so it was definitely a challenging.
That's interesting.
And then I was driving back and forth, between California and Vegas, or LA and Vegas.
That's insane.
For like a year and a half, every week. And it was a lot, and it got exhausting to me. And as much as I loved it, it was just something that I knew that I couldn't do forever. And I knew that in that
and you couldn't brag about it either.
No, I couldn't post on social media.
I train celebrities, like, sure, who? You're like, I can't say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Is there anyone you're really proud of, or anything? Like, I know you can't mention specifics, but is there anything you're like, there's a movie going down in history, and like, I was responsible for that.
Not really. Like, I don't boast about stuff like that. Like, I don't look at it like that was my work. I don't know. I don't. If I can make a difference in someone's life and it changes their life, to me, that's far more important than.
Yeah. And it's funny because, like, when you're in a movie, you're on stage, it's this like perception, this persona. Like, I was in Thunder Down Under, and as soon as you're on stage, and probably the same as when you're competing, you just get this like this like perception, the lighting, the perception. You're in a movie, you're in a commercial, whatever it is. It's like all of a sudden it's like this. It's just a regular person.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just exactly the same person.
But then you're put on this pedestal.
Pedestals have been the best word, right?
I've been in a couple of movies. I've been in Think Like a Man too.
Oh, yeah.
A couple of TV shows. But to be honest, like, that isn't me. Like, does that make sense? Like, that wasn't something that I'm like, oh my gosh, look at me. Like, I'm just not that type of person. I'm so much happier, like, back here, flying under the radar, helping people one-on-one. Like, to me, this excites me way more than those accolades could, because it wasn't who I really am.
And it's probably because you know what's important to you and what makes you happy on the inside. And you don't seem like you're trying to impress other people. And I feel like people are doing that. It's more like an exterior, like, look at me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Your self-education, you read a lot, you've done a lot of courses. Like, I know you weren't. How was that now?
So, great question. So I actually took my first personal growth seminar in 1999.
Oh, did really?
Yeah. So I've done a lot of personal development, but I like seminars. I like going and experiencing it in person. I do read some, but I've had coaches and mentors in personal development. I've gone to a lot of seminars over the last 20 years. And by no means am I done. And I mean that it's not like, oh, I've arrived, I don't need to do any more work. Like, it's never a day. The day that I'm in the ground is the day that then I, stop doing the work. But to me, there's always something I can be better at. There's always something that I can strive to do different or learn from or grow from. And so I don't know, I'm getting ready to do something with Marina Worry and Lisa Nichols. I don't know if you know who Lisa Nichols is. She's phenomenal, spiritual, heartfelt woman. But I like stuff like that. Like, to me, I want to work with people. I want to learn. I want to absorb. I want to apply it right there. And so I've made it that I do some sort of personal development work every single day.
Okay.
Whether it's a 10-minute meditation or a 10-minute, listening to a video or or reading a little bit or, really trying to grow. And what do I need to work on? And a lot of times I'll look at it as a reflection and go, okay, Mandy, what do you need to work on right now in you? What area of your life do you need to get better at? And then I go and study to get better at that. Whether it's a video, whether it's a book, whether it's journaling, I also took this course and read the book, Master Your Mind Power. And then there's a book, that's the book. And then the course is Mind Power Breakthrough. It's like a 6-week personal development seminar and book. And actually my friends, Steph and Shay Shavidal, actually wrote the book. It's like on the top of the charts. It has been. They launched it during the pandemic. And I don't like to say the C word. They launched it during the pandemic. And it was really I think it was like number 1 or number 2 bestseller, because people are starting to take more action in their mind and how they think and taking responsibility for that. So sometimes I'll go back and refer back to the book or some of the exercises where I realize like this is the area of my life that I need to be better at. This is the area that I need to work on today. Kind of like when going into a gym and a personal trainer, you're like, oh man, like I really want to build, my biceps. And
it's like weak point training, right? Or turning your weakness into a strength.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing as when you go into the gym. You're like, all right, look, I want to work on my glutes. All right, well then here's what we got to do to get you.
And that's also taking time to reflect and being honest with yourself, right? Hey, I need to be better at sales. I need to be able to speak better, whatever it is. And then doing what you need to do to address that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas, no, I totally agree. And I think as long as you're doing something and you're doing something consistently, and I like how you mentioned even like a 10-minute video, it's amazing what you can pick up in 10 minutes.
Absolutely. Like YouTube has so many incredible ones. Like,
yeah. I mean, TED Talks, there's like 10-minute TED Talks. There's from here to the gym's probably 10-minute drive. I'm like, I could listen to a song a couple times, or I could literally find a gold nugget. And I couldn't tell you how many hundreds of times I've learned something in 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
That is now a new tool in my tool belt for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Even reading a book, if I get one thing out of a book, it was worthwhile.
Yeah, exactly. Finding that nugget, and then what can I take from a video, a book, whatever it is, and how can I apply that in my life today?
Yeah, that's the thing too, right? Yeah, knowing and doing. As far as you, so you look amazing. You're 48, right?
I'll be 48 next month.
So to do that, obviously you're gonna have some good habits. What are your habits as far as like training, diet, self-education, habits, meditation, cold plunges? What do you do? What do you don't do? What's something you want to add to that?
Well, there's some things I can get better at, that's for sure. I think for a long time, working in the gym, because I was a trainer actively for 15 years.
Okay.
And so
I did for 8.
Yeah. And I
so you
got
did for like double me. Yeah.
I burned out. I literally got
burned out after 8. Yeah.
It was literally 8 to 10 hours every single day. My husband and I both trained clients. And
then you're talking about training because that's what you both do.
Yeah.
And then you're probably training yourself at some point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when I was competing, then I was doing my workouts in between all that. I just got to a point where I didn't like it anymore. And it's interesting because it's like that was my office. I want to leave the office, right? Like I want to get out of the office, like leave that behind for the day. And I couldn't. And so with the whole lockdowns and stuff, I got out of the habit, because it is a habit, of going to the gym and working out every single day. Now, I tried different things, but I just couldn't find that, like, what do I love? But I make sure to commit to at least 20 minutes a day of some sort of exercise.
Okay.
If I've got a lot of meetings and calls and Zooms, then maybe my workout for the day is going to be at home. But I make sure that I do something. When the weather's nice, I love to be outside. I will listen to something, personal development, if I go for a walk or a run.
So it could just be a walk.
It could just be walk. But I make the commitment every single day to do something physical for at least 20 minutes.
Interesting.
And
that's not a big ask.
It's not.
That could be yoga.
It can be like some nights I'm like super sore because I did go to the gym a couple days in a row. Then I'll just spend 20 minutes like stretching, foam rolling, like just taking care of my body. But I make sure to make that commitment to myself.
I like that. I feel like anybody could do that.
20 minutes a day, whatever that is. Like, and look, you can find free YouTube videos of like 10-minute abs or, you know.
All the things we didn't have growing up.
Yeah,
right?
we didn't have any of that. So now it's like there's really no room for an excuse. And I work from home most of the time. So I am sitting down more. I have a standing desk. So I make sure to raise my desk. And sometimes while I'm like typing on my computer or doing something, I'll put the band around my legs and do like kickbacks and, you know, abductors and exactly like I'm doing something.
Gotcha.
Than just sitting there like, oh, cool, I can work from my phone. I don't need to do anything.
And then more importantly, I'm sure your diet is on, what's the percentage on your diet?
80-20.
Okay, I like that. I'm about the
80-20.
same. Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah.
I think that's really good to hear that because I think I'm about the same.
Yeah, I just make sure that my plate always has, we call it PFC, protein, fat, and carb. And
protein, fat, and carb.
And I try to stay away from gluten. I still have it, but I try, personally for me, my body goes through phases where it doesn't bother me, and then there's phases that it does. So for me, I know that's one thing that my gut doesn't like. When I have it, it's like, let me show you why you should not be eating that. But I would probably say every meal I have a protein, a fat, and a healthy carb. Now that carb is usually a fruit or a vegetable, and occasionally it'll be something with gluten.
Okay.
But I always make sure that I have the protein, the fat, and the carb.
Okay.
And I try to eat, and sometimes it's I get 3 meals in a day and 2 shakes, you know? So I'm not like regimented that I weigh my food, that I don't have time to
you've got a balance. Over the years, you've figured out a balance, which is amazing. And when you're 80, you're going to be able to do the same thing. That's the beauty. Yeah. And then you're doing self-education each day in some shape or form. What other habits are you doing on a daily basis?
I do a really cool breathing exercise every morning. So it's shining skull breath, where you're reaching up and it increases your nitric oxide in your body.
You're doing the holes and stuff too?
Yeah. Well, so first,
is it like 3-minute rounds?
It's 30 reps.
Yep.
And then just breathe, find something I'm grateful for the day, or set my intention. And I do 3 sets of 30.
Okay.
And what that does is literally people are like, oh my gosh, I'm dizzy. Well, because you're getting this nitric oxide that opens up your blood vessels and all that fresh oxygen into your brain.
That tingly, buzzy feeling. I love that feeling.
And so that's one of my things. I'm working on doing the meditations first thing in the morning.
Yep.
Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I jump up and like this morning it was like, okay, buddy, like gotta get my son ready for school. And so I gotta get better at that. But then I make sure at some point in the day I do like a 10-minute meditation.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be long. Yeah, this podcast has got me into meditation. Yeah. I've been in probably 3 months, but I do it before I go to bed. But that's just what works for me.
And see, that's the whole thing, is just for me finding, like, some days my days are different and other days.
Like you said, as long as you're getting it in. Yeah. You mentioned journaling. You're journaling daily too?
I was, and again, I'm being
honest. It's easy to follow. No, I'm the same.
Transparent.
I looked at my journal and I was like, I missed 5 days because I was just out of a weird routine. Yeah. So, but it's coming back to it, right? And you're coming back to it before, hey, now I do it every day.
Yeah, it's creating the habit. And, you know, because once you do the habit, then it's not as hard to step away. It's second nature.
You just do it. Like, I do cold plunges every day now. That is 100% a habit. But the journaling is a little bit on and off. The meditation is a little bit on and off. Yeah. So I like how transparent you're being.
Well, why? I'm not perfect by any means.
Yeah, exactly right.
I don't expect myself to be perfect. I expect myself to be 1% better every day.
I like that.
How can I be 1% better in something every day?
And that's realistic.
Yeah, that's realistic. And then that doesn't set myself up for failure. It doesn't tell people they are going to set themselves up for failure, because perfection doesn't exist and true balance doesn't exist. You know, I think of balance as, you know, like, think about the guy spinning the plates, right? Like in the shows or the circus, right? He's got to go back and he's got to do this one and this one. There's no time that everything is perfectly balanced and you can just sit back and go, oh, okay, cool. Never. It's about finding the harmony in the chaos, right? Finding the harmony in that, finding the gratitude. And even if I don't get to journal, I make sure when I lay my head down at night after I kiss my amazing husband goodnight, I am thanking the universe for that day. I'm finding things to be grateful for. And I know that when I go to bed thinking about that and thinking about, gosh, I am so grateful for this, this, and this today, I know that I'm putting myself in a state to create and attract more, because that's the last thing that I think about before I go to bed.
I like that. I like that a lot. Anything that you're doing that I may learn or may need to implement in my own life? You got any little secrets you're holding out on me?
No, I just think that anything that you want to create, and I say that for me or you, right? Anything that we want to create is possible. We just have to think it into existence and believe that it's possible. And then God, the universe, everything is going to start lining itself up to make that happen. Where people are like, I got to figure out how I'm going to get from point A to point B. Don't try to figure out the how. Just know that I will be here. I will be at this point. And trust that you're taking the small step every day to get you there. And that the people, the things, the places,
the alignment of everything, right?
Yeah, it just starts to happen. So we call it intention mechanism. Your intention is here. You don't need to figure out the how. If you are 100% clear on the outcome that you want, the mechanism, the how will figure itself out.
That's interesting. You've got an amazing, what's the word? Like just the way you look at life. And like you can tell that didn't happen overnight, but it's something that's evolved. Yeah, I'm very similar the way I think, and it's really refreshing hearing from someone. And also too, someone who's doing so well, and if I'm thinking the same way, it kind of goes back to that, this is where I want to be, these little steps. Before I know it, I'll be the person sitting in that chair talking what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. Just to finish off with longevity. You seem like the perfect person to talk to about longevity. What are the secrets to longevity?
Longevity, drink lots of water, eat healthy and 80-20, laugh a lot, and have great sex.
Laugh a lot. I like that. Laugh. Why is the laughing and the sex important, you think?
Well, because they release those endorphins that feel good, right? And yes, I believe that wholeheartedly. And, you know, people think, well, I'm not happy, so I have nothing to laugh about. Go watch a funny movie.
Go out of your way to yeah. Because sometimes you're like, did I laugh today? Have I smiled today? And if not, why? Yeah, I'm a huge believer of that, because sometimes I find myself the same. It's every day is kind of the mundane. It's like, how do I go out of my way to change that?
Yeah. And laughing to me is everything. Like, I love when I make my husband laugh, because I'm kind of a funny person. This is a little bit more of a serious talk.
Yeah, same as me. I'm a goofball.
But I am.
I'm never serious besides when I've got to be serious.
Exactly.
If I'm like 90% off, 99% off.
And so I love making other people laugh. And I love when I make my husband laugh, I laugh harder at myself. And giving yourself permission to be silly, to laugh, to have fun, to enjoy life, because we were not put on this earth to work 40 hours a week and, you know, go home and go to bed and get up the next day. And we were not
hate what we do and just survive.
No, like you got to enjoy what you do. And I think too, when you enjoy what you do, you know, it changes in here, you know, when you, or finding the gratitude, like maybe you don't like what you do right now, but maybe you're like, you know what, I'm going to be here. And then you start finding the joy in every part of that journey that gets you there.
No, I love that. Anything you want to touch on before we finish up?
No.
I think we did amazing.
I love it. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you're very welcome. That was absolutely a pleasure.
Thank you.